was the first lesson, and tonight will be the second lesson. So for those who just joined in, we are trying to do a bit of comparison because somebody in some previous series was asking a question about Nimittas. So because the term Nimittas kind of popularly appear for post-canonical kind of references, they will say meditation must see Nimittas. So what is Nimittas? Nimittas means sign. So it's often used in post-canonical meditation manuals, not so much used in the same way as the Suttas. So according to the post-canonical version, for example, like the 𝐓𝐿𝐼𝐴, they'll tell you kasina is you need some image to help you to focus and concentrate. So for example, if you look at the background here, you need like maybe a candle or a flame. So that's the preparatory sign for you to prepare. And then once you can remember the image, then we call this the acquired sign. But then it's unstable. You look for a while, you close your eyes, then you forget the image again. Then you need to look at the preparatory sign again, which is the physical candle. And then if let's say a person master this image, then they have this thing called counterpart sign, which the image will kind of last longer. So these are like the few phases of that so-called meditation practice. But let's look at the Suttas version of this practice on Nimittas. Okay, so in the Suttas, the term Nimitta is used in different contexts. Based on different situation, different contexts have different meaning. So the first one would be any sense door contact equals to Nimitta. Whatever you see is Nimitta, whatever you hear is Nimitta, whatever you think is Nimitta. So that is one definition of Nimitta. So it is basically quite neutral. And the second one, meditation theme or sign. So it can be used as a positive thing. You use some positive sign to replace an unwholesome one. So the common example would be, for example, like the asubha image, impurities of the body image. If a person, let's say, is very lustful, they are overwhelmed by certain either beautiful features or pretty features of another person, then they recall, last time they remember some image of the human biology, the human disgusting parts of the human body. Then they remind the image and replace the person with that image. So that's using this example. So anyway, the third one, affective sign. So it can be the Subha Nimitta or Patiga Nimitta. So it's an example. Subha means beauty. Patiga Nimitta means ugly. So that's the example I give. Then signless. Number 4. So signless would be an advanced stage of meditation. So when a person transcends neither perception nor non-perception, they'll have this no nimitta. It's a signless state, no object. So that's the fourth context. So in this Chula Shunyata Sutta, it mentions some of the difference in the Sutta practice versus the Visuddhimagga practice, for example. So maybe the Visuddhimagga will tell you visualizing the nimitta will let the practitioner or help the practitioner enter the first jhana onwards. So that's the Visuddhimagga's point of view. Whereas in the Sutta's point of view, this Nimittas or this kasina practice will not lead to the first 4 jhanas. The kasinas from the Suttas, if a person were to enter concentration, they will start off with formless concentration, like the 5th jhana, the perception of infinite space. So that's the Sutta's version. And unlike the Visuddhimagga, which starts from a small point, like the small candle flame we saw in the previous picture, the Sutta's version of the kasina would start off with a big environmental area, boundless area, like visualizing the entire forest as the earth kasina. So that's the example in this Chula Shunyata Sutta. So there's some differences. So anyway, we have started off the previous session on this Sekha Patipada Sutta, which is on the contact, sense contact. And where have we stopped? Okay, so we kind of stopped here. So we talk about the six senses. So this is the mind door, cognizing an idea of the mind or intellect. It doesn't grasp any theme or variations by which, if he were to dwell without restraint over the faculty of the intellect, evil, unskillful qualities such as greed or distress might assail him. He practices with restraint. He guards the faculty of the intellect. He achieves restraint with regard to the faculty of the intellect. This is how the disciple of the Noble Ones guards the doors to his sense faculties. So this is the sixth sense door. So the previous five sense doors are mentioned, like the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. So it mentions here, if a person were to pay attention to any of the sense contact without any restraint, without proper reflection, without guarding the senses, then it is a condition for unskillful qualities, such as greed or anger, to arise. So basically every sense contact is considered like dangerous. So we need skill. So it mentions here, unskill means like the natural default programming. So in order to guard the senses, you need skill, skill to overcome this greed or anger. Okay, next. Okay, and how does the disciple of the Noble Ones know moderation in eating? There is the case when the disciple of the Noble Ones, considering it appropriately, takes his food not playfully, nor for intoxication, nor for putting on bulk, nor for beautification, but simply for the survival and continuance of this body, for ending its afflictions, for the support of the holy life, thinking, I will destroy old feelings of hunger and not create new feelings from overeating. Thus I will maintain myself, be blameless, and live in comfort. This is how the disciple of the Noble Ones knows moderation in eating. Yeah, so this is the food reflection used in some retreats. Yeah, they emphasize on this. So sometimes people think mindfulness in eating means enjoy tasting the food, enjoy the taste of the food, which is contrary to the sutta. Yeah? So the Buddha taught that whatever thing you eat is not to enjoy the senses, not for pleasure. So it mentions here is to solely to give enough energy for the body to continue the practice, the spiritual practice, to end a lay hunger, to end the hunger. So that's the main purpose. So you need proper reflection, because once you don't intentionally use some kind of positive reflection, the mind will naturally go into greed. Wow, so nice, so delicious. This food very popular, then you want to follow craving. Okay, next. And how is the disciple of the Noble Ones devoted to wakefulness? There is the case where a monk during the day, sitting and pacing back and forth, cleanses his mind of any qualities that would hold the mind in check. So this is the example. During the first watch of the night, so they estimate dusk to 10 p.m. So dusk is the moment of sunset. Sitting and pacing back and forth. So they meditate throughout the whole night. He cleanses his mind of any qualities that would hold the mind in check. Yeah, so basically it's you need effort, or we need formal practice. You need to dedicate some time for formal practice to cultivate this restraint regarding the senses. Okay, next. During the second watch of the night, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., reclining on his right side, he takes up the lion's posture, one foot placed on top of the other, mindful, alert, with his mind set on getting up, either as soon as he awakens or at a particular time. So this is, again, this estimated timing, because last time, the Buddha's time, no clock. So this is just an estimation. So this is the time to sleep. So how many hours? 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., 4 hours of sleep. 4 hours of sleep. So the retreat, how many hours you sleep? Yeah, okay, so anyway, this is just an estimate. During the last watch of the night, 2 a.m. to dawn, that means sunrise, sitting and pacing back and forth, he cleanses his mind of any qualities that would hold the mind in check. This is how the monk is devoted to wakefulness. Yeah, so because of this interpretation of this timing, I think a lot of forest monasteries, and they start to wake up like 3 a.m. in the morning or 3 plus a.m. and they start to do their meditation, meditate. Then towards the end of the, before dawn, the sunrise, then they might do the morning chanting, and then afterwards then they prepare for the alms round. So that's some of the practices. Okay, next. And how is the disciple of the noble ones endowed with 7 qualities? So these are important to overcome this sense contact nimitta. So these are the skills involved. There's the case where the disciple of the noble ones has conviction. So conviction here means the faith is convinced of the Buddha's and the Tathagata's awakening. Indeed, the Blessed One is worthy and rightly self-awakened, consummate in clear knowing and conduct, well gone, and expert with regard to the cosmos, an excelled trainer of people fit to be tamed, teacher of devas and human beings, awakened, blessed. So this is the first quality. So if a person have no faith, then whatever is mentioned here, you won't believe. The person credible or not? This person not enlightened, how can he just give this kind of teaching? I don't know whether you lead you astray or lead you to enlightenment. So first thing is you need some faith, a leap of faith. So the more you practice, and if it lets you get result, then the conviction will be firmer, so it becomes confidence instead of just blind faith. Okay, then second quality, he feels shame at the thought of engaging in bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, mental misconduct. Yeah, so there's this thing called moral fear and shame. So basically our guilty conscience. So our conscience is kind of defense mechanism to prevent us from doing wrong things. So there are these 3 kinds of conduct: bodily conduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct. So the Dhamma practitioner would be more mindful of the mental misconduct. Any non-religious person, as long as they are, we said, law-abiding citizen, can be very mindful of the first 2, bodily misconduct and verbal misconduct. They don't want to get arrested, so they watch their behavior. But if a person is practicing to the path of liberation, then they also need to take note of the third one, mental misconduct, or the emphasis is on the mental misconduct, because mind is the forerunner. Intention comes first before the bodily and verbal misconduct. So next slide. Okay, let's go to continue. He feels compunction over the suffering that will result from bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, mental misconduct. Okay, so this third one talks about reflecting on the cause and effect, the consequences that would happen if you were to carry out this certain act. So it's important to understand certain working, at least certain teachings of this karma, cause and effect. Or if a person is at least experienced practitioner, they may not know the theory of karma. Mental misconduct, for example, if a person generates unwholesome thought, then actually immediately there will be immediate suffering. Maybe increase in blood pressure, increase in stress. So it's immediate. So if a person is mindful, is sensitive, they know, hey, this is not the right path. Brings suffering. So this is the immediate result of mental misconduct. So a person is aware of this consequences. So again, to elaborate, what is this bodily, verbal, or mental misconduct? Bodily misconduct, there's 3. So we recited the precept, right? First one is to refrain from. Bodily misconduct means killing. Stealing, that's the second one. And sexual misconduct, so that's bodily misconduct. Verbal misconduct means telling lies, harsh speech, idle chatter, divisive speech. So these are the verbal misconduct. Mental misconduct would be thoughts of greed, anger, and delusion. So total, we call this the 10 demeritorious deeds. So 10 demeritorious deeds. So it's very similar to the Noble Eightfold Path. So these are things that we should try to curb or overcome. And number 4, he has heard much. He has retained what he has heard, has stored what he has heard. Whatever teachings are admirable in the beginning, admirable in the middle, admirable in the end, that in their meaning and expression proclaim the holy life that is entirely complete and pure. Those he has listened to often, retained, discussed, accumulated, examined with his mind, and well penetrated in terms of his views. So it's important that any teaching you learn, to be able to remember them. So that in your mind you can at least analyze the teachings, or even try to refute certain points and see whether it's beneficial for yourself and others, and so on. Investigate the teachings. So the first step is to remember them. So that was in the past, when there's no books and or there are no books on the teachings and no recordings, don't have this Zoom recording. So they have to solely base on memory. So they listen to the teachings, oral tradition they call it, by word of mouth, and they remember the teachings. So nowadays you can play back the Zoom recording, the live stream on Facebook, and if you've forgotten, you can just replay. So now it's much easier. But it's good to have this, we call it training of this cognitive function, memory. So it's quite important. Okay, next. So the 5th quality, he keeps his persistence aroused for abandoning unskillful qualities and taking on skillful qualities. He is steadfast, solid in his effort, not shirking his duties with regard to skillful qualities. So down here, the 5th quality means the right effort. In the Noble Eightfold Path, right effort. You need to try your best to abandon unskillful qualities, anything associated with greed or anger and delusion, and taking on skillful qualities. Try to develop as many skillful qualities as possible, and if there's any skillful qualities you have, try to maintain or perfect them. So that's the 5th quality. Then number 6, he is mindful, highly meticulous, remembering and able to call to mind even things that were done and said long ago. So number 6, we call this the circular mindfulness. worldly mindfulness. So down here is important in this case. You need to remember the teachings. So you need to have some good memory. So in the Suttas, or rather in the Noble Eightfold Paths, right mindfulness, there will be mindful of impermanence of the body, feelings, mind, and the Dhamma. So the mindfulness here is the good memory. We call this circular mindfulness. Okay, and number 7, he is discerning, endowed with discernment of arising and passing away, noble, penetrating, leading to the right ending of stress. So down here, number 7 talks about the right mindfulness. So this is the wisdom portion. You need to be able to discern rising and passing away of all phenomena, the 5 aggregates. So that's the 7 qualities. So without the 7, it's a bit hard to guard the senses, or how to detach from the contact to the senses, which are the Nimittas in this case. This is how the disciple of the noble ones is endowed with 7 qualities. So someone during one of the retreats was asking me, is it important before a person dies, we encourage the deathbed person, see the light, follow the light. So my answer to that person was, it depends on the wisdom of the person. If the person doesn't have enough right understanding, there is no different from the flies. If you turn on the light, all the flies all fly to the light, fly to the lamp. So they also follow the light, right? So what's the difference? So anybody also can follow the light, but is there any right reflection? Any detachment? So it's important to have these 7 qualities. I need to reflect on impermanence. But before reaching impermanence, that's why you have the first few steps. You need to remove all the unwholesome qualities first. If the person is unwholesome, then it's a bit hard for them to discern impermanence. The mind is not ready for the truth. You need to have certain level of wholesome qualities. The mind needs to be either neutral or wholesome to be able to accept impermanence. So I always give the example of, let's say, we do the meditation routine on the impermanence of the hair or any part of the body. If the state of mind is not ready, you think of the parts of the body getting old and falling off. Instead of detachment, they start to worry. Worry about medical bills, the health care, who is going to take care of them, a lot of worries, insurance and everything. So all these are not the right state of mind. You need to have certain neutral emotion or positive states of mind before reflecting on impermanence. So that's why this number 7 is placed last. So the first, if you look at the sequence, is very systematic. First is the faith in the Buddha, followed by all the other positive qualities. Then number 5 on the right effort, and so on and so forth. Then the last one would be reflecting on impermanence. So you cannot straight away start and tell the beginner must think of impermanence. Then if they are not ready, if they do not have the supporting conditions, they cannot see the truth. They are not able to let go. Okay, next slide. Okay, and this one is a bit more advanced. And how does the disciple of the noble ones obtain at will, without trouble or difficulty, the 4 jhanas that constitute heightened awareness and a pleasant abiding in the here and now? Right, so down here, jhanas doesn't equals to nimittas. So nimittas is nimittas, jhanas is jhanas. There are 2 different pathways. Okay, here is the case where we're quite secluded from sensuality. That's the key word. So in, let's say, kasina meditation, you need to, at least in the post-canonical version, you need to be very clear of the image which you are looking, or the image has to be very clear in the mind. Whereas in the Suttas version, at least in the Chula Shunyata Sutta, which we're going to talk in future sessions, the Sutta mentions that the image does not have to be clear. If your focus is on entering jhanas, you cannot have clear image. If your focus is on clear image, then you are reducing your chances of seclusion from sensuality and entering a different type of concentration used to develop this psychic power. So down here, if a person just solely want contentment of the mind, pleasant abiding, they is encouraged not to focus on the light. That means focus on the meditation object, maybe let's say the breath or loving kindness or whatever you're doing, which is not visualization related. Not visualization related. Then if the focus is more secluded from sensuality, and the second point here, secluded from unskillful qualities. So if the mind is greed, they want to see the light, want to see this, want to see that, craving, then this is considered unskillful quality. So if a person want this jhanic concentration, you need to promote skillful thoughts. So in a routine, let's say we do loving kindness. So the emphasis is on the right thought and not on chasing, not on the craving part. Okay, so I think I shall end here for tonight. Now it's 9 o'clock. Some people may not be able to absorb further. And I'll open the floor to questions and answers. Any questions from anyone? Someone unmuted? Yeah, Trillian, you have something?
Sorry, actually I want to on the video.
Okay, alright. Okay, I give a 3 count. There's no questions, then we go for a break. 3, 2, 1. Okay, no question, then we go for a 5-minute break. You can do your stretching, toilet break, then we come back for the guided meditation. So see you all later. Okay, so for those who are back early, maybe we can still have questions. Carmen, you have any questions?
Very smart, you. Yeah, I just curious a bit. How do you find between Buddhas, the Dhamma and also psychology? Are they quite related?
Sorry, can you repeat? There's a line that cut off.
Okay, I was just wondering whether psychology and
Psychology.
Dhamma,
Okay.
Buddha speaking,
Yeah.
are they like related?
Yeah, so okay, I'm not the expert in psychology, but I did heard from this late Venerable Dr. Punanji. So he has a double doctorate, doctorate in Western psychology, if I'm not wrong, then a doctorate in Buddhist philosophy. So he's saying these two don't match because Western psychology start off with the framework of the soul. Psychology, the root word or the Greek word is psyche, which means the soul. Whereas in Buddhism, talks about there's no soul, or rather they don't want to talk about the soul, not self. The concept of anatta. So it comes from very different framework. So even the founding fathers, the pioneers of Western psychology, have no clear definition of what this soul can do with regard to different circumstances. So that's why there's I think at least 14 schools of psychology. There's 14 founders, so there are 14 different interpretations of a certain behavior. Is it a problem or not a problem? What kind of treatment should there be a treatment or not a treatment for certain behavior? So they're not even clear. So that is the problem of psychology. It's not a definitive science. It's not like you can test saliva and find out what's the chemistry behind it, what's the chemical behind it. So no. So psychology is based on a bit like guesswork. A bit like guesswork. So that's Western psychology. So Buddhist teaching is more on understanding mind based on wholesome, unwholesome behavior and the art of wholesome behavior leading to the end of stress, end of suffering. How unwholesome mind, speech and body leads to suffering, and how wholesome mind, speech, body lead to the ending of stress. So that's the basis of Buddhist so-called psychology. Yeah.
Thank you, Teh.
Okay, no problem. Okay, any other issues? The rest haven't come back. Kun Peng, you have any questions?
Yeah, Bante, you mentioned just now about during the dead bed, right? We reflect on the impermanence instead of following the lights. I remember one of the talks by one of the Bantes, I cannot remember which one, said that before a person passes away, so we must actually encourage the person to reflect on the good deeds that the person has done.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that would be the first few qualities, because the last one then is thing of impermanence.
So won't that be, clinging to all the good things?
Yeah, clinging to good things rather than clinging to light. And because light is so neutral that a person may not have wholesome intention towards the light.
So meaning that we can actually reflect on the good deeds that the person has done, and then encourage the person to reflect on impermanence.
Yeah, if the mind is positive and think of impermanence, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I presume most of the people are back, so we start the guided meditation. So we can mute the microphone to prevent the feedback. Susan, you want to mute the mic? Okay, we find a comfortable sitting posture. Make sure your back is upright and the rest of the body relaxed. Okay, and the first thing we're going to do is the impurities of the body meditation. So this one require a bit of visualization. So the objective is to learn to let go of the body. And the first thing we're going to do is visualize the hairs from head to toe. So visualizing any image itself, it's kind of neutral. There's no Dhamma value in any kind of visualization object. So any hairstylist also can visualize the hairs. So what we're going to do is add some Dhamma value. We're going to wish the hairs well and happy. So the visualization of the hairs is part of mindfulness of the body. Wishing the hairs well and happy is part of right thought. Give some wholesomeness to it. And once we finish the sentence, then we quickly move on to a new patch of hair and wish it well and happy. So the repetition is called right effort. And the more we keep wishing that image, or we call this the mind-created nimitta, it's a constant tug of war, right? Every time we generate a right thought, we are kind of restraining the senses or guarding the senses. Once we stop wishing it well and happy, and the mind will confirm, follow a certain kind of drama shows. Mind will construct lots of stories related to the hair or not related to the hairs, and that will create this mini samsara. So the more we have this momentum of right effort, and the mind should be able to calm down. And if you find that the mind is relatively calm, or the rate of settling is negligible, then we call this your neutral baseline state. And that will be the minimum criteria for the insight reflection. And then we can transit to the impermanence phase. So we can think that all these hairs go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. And as we keep on repeating this verse, birth, aging, sickness, death, and we also mentally synchronize the image of the hairs growing and falling, many cycles, with the verses. And if you do it correctly, if the conditions are right, and this craving is significantly kind of reduced, then there should be some Dhamma joy from detachment. So it's an indicator you're on the right path. If a person does have Dhamma joy, the more they think of impermanence, the more suffering they might have. And eventually the joy should disappear, it just lasts for a short while, and it should proceed on to a certain calmness or quietness. And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence and birth, aging, sickness, death, or you can use the phrase rising and passing. Okay, then we can ask ourselves, are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through birth and death? Okay, and the next part of the body, we can think of the nails, fingernails and toenails. So that's again a different nimitta, new image. So the image itself, again, there's no good or bad. So if you're not mindful, then the mind will react with greed or anger, depending on how you like or don't like the nails. And we're going to strive for the middle path. We're going to wish it well and happy. Thoughts of non-aversion. Okay, and all these nails go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. So as we keep repeating this verse, and we also mentally loop the image over and over again, many cycles. Then we can ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? So the whole idea of this detachment is also to eventually tackle the sense of I, the sense of self. How does inappropriate attention to the image lead to the arising of this self or selfishness? And how does detachment lead to the overcoming of this self? Can we tell the nails not to go through birth and death? And the next part of the body, we can think of the teeth, all the teeth inside the mouth, and we wish them well and happy. And all his teeth go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. And as we keep on reciting this verse, we also can keep looping this image many cycles. Even though the teeth fall off the most twice, we can just keep on repeating. And then we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? So the more you think of impermanence, then you can check this sense of selfishness. Is it increasing or decreasing in intensity? Yeah? Can we tell the teeth not to go through birth and death? And the next part of the body, we can think of the skin, the entire skin from head to toe, and we wish them well and happy. Okay, and all this skin go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. So we keep repeating this verse as we keep looping this image of the skin growing and falling many cycles. Okay, then we can ask ourselves, are the skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through birth and death? And the next phase of meditation, we are no longer visualizing anything, we're just going to feel the sensations throughout the whole body. So we call this mindfulness of the four elements. So these are the earth, fire, wind and water elements. Nothing mystical about them. Earth represents any hard or soft sensations. And fire represents any hot and cold sensations. And wind represents any kind of movement. And water represents any moist or dry sensations. So they're just categorizations of the sensation. So the whole idea is not to control them, let them appear naturally by themselves. And whatever most obvious sensation appearing, and that itself is again another nimitta, body contact nimitta. And again, without right reflection, one may react with greed or anger towards either pleasant or unpleasant experiences. So in order to get to the middle path, we are going to wish the sensations well and happy. Any sensation appear, we wish them well and happy. So it's a bit like greeting a customer entering your stall. Any sensation appear, well and happy, and your sensation appear, well and happy. Okay, then similarly, the mind should be able to settle down to this neutral baseline emotion. And we're going to remember it for your personal reference. So this is just a neutral state, no concentration yet. And how to proceed on to a concentrative state. Using this loving kindness, we are going to now cultivate boundless loving kindness. So we are going to wish, may all beings in all directions be well and happy. Above, below, and all across, all directions, may all beings be well and happy. So in that enlarged area of attention, we are going to perceive all beings as the four elements. No need to visualize how they look like. Treat all beings as the four elements. So whatever sensation appear, we're going to wish, may all beings be well and happy. So the whole universe is made of four elements. And we are using the four elements as a representation for all sentient beings. So the same condition, same criteria, right effort. Important criteria, right effort. That means you keep on repeating, may all beings be well and happy. Anytime a sensation appear, Doesn't matter if it's inside the body or outside the body. So the emphasis is on the right thought and right effort. Wholesome thoughts, or the noble thoughts. May all beings be well and happy. And then let the calming down be the side product. Okay, and if the conditions are right, you keep on wishing, may all beings be well and happy. You have the right thought, right effort and everything, then it will trigger the right concentration. So usually loving kindness may lead one to the first level of concentration, indicated by some increment in joy and happiness, compared to the neutral baseline emotion from earlier. And regardless of what you experience, keep on wishing, may all beings be well and happy. And for the wisdom portion, we're going to now think of impermanence, how to cultivate a more detached loving kindness. Any sensation appear, we are now going to recite rising and passing. And if the joy of detachment starts to disappear, and one may get a strong neutral emotion, more refreshing. So we call that emotion equanimity. Yeah? And regardless of what you experience, keep on reciting, rising and passing. Okay, then we can switch to the second sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we are going to wish, may all beings be free from suffering. So again, using the non-discrimination approach, do not need to imagine any scenario, do not have to worry for any person, just stick to the four elements. Any sensation appear, that's the cause for clinging and suffering. That's nimitta itself. Once we are unguarded, then that's the suffering for all beings. So anytime a new sensation appear, we're going to keep wishing, may all beings be free from suffering. And the same thing, if the conditions are right, we keep on wishing, may all beings be free from suffering. And this compassion may lead one to the second level of concentration, indicated by some joy and happiness. And regardless of what you experience, keep on wishing, may all beings be free from suffering. Then now we add the wisdom portion. We are going to reflect how to overcome the suffering, cultivate true compassion. So we're going to learn to detach from the clinging aggregates, and we're going to use impermanence to do so, to shake off this clinging. So every time any sensation appears, we just need to mentally recite rising and passing. Okay, and if the joy of detachment starts to disappear, instead of the strong neutral equanimity from previously, this time around it should appear more blank or spacious. So the combination of this compassion and insight may lead one to experience this perception of space. And regardless of how blank you may experience it, continue to keep reciting, rising and passing. Keep this wakefulness. Okay, and then we can move on to the third sublime state, which is appreciative joy. And we're going to rejoice with all beings using the lowest common denominator. Every moment, every second, all beings will gain a new experience. So we can rejoice in their gain. Don't have to wait for someone to win something. Every moment we can rejoice with all beings. So no story making, just stick to the sensations and have this boundless rejoicing. So we are not imposing any preconceived ideas or stories towards outside. We are bringing inward, clearing all the story making. And if the conditions are right, keep on rejoicing with all beings. This appreciative joy may lead one to the third level of concentration, indicated by the emotion of happiness. So it's a calm kind of happiness. So we call that there's a mixture of equanimity also. And regardless of what you experience, keep on rejoicing with all beings. Okay, then we add some wisdom. We're going to reflect that all beings will eventually be separated from what they have achieved. So similarly, all these sensations don't stay with us 24/7. They come and go every moment. So anytime a sensation appears, we just keep reciting, rising and passing. Okay, and if the joy of detachment start to disappear instead of the blank, spacious experience from previously, this time around it should be a sense of fullness, as though the sense of self has merged with the entire surroundings, or you feel kind of enlarged. So we call this the experience, the perception of infinite consciousness. So regardless of what you experience, keep on reciting, rising and passing. Okay, before we conclude the session, same gentle reminder in all activities. Whether you're standing, sitting, walking or lying down, you can be mindful of impermanence or mindful of the sublime states. And with that, we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session, and formally generate right thought. Okay, any problems from anyone? Okay, if there's no issues, then we move on to the dedication chanting. Okay, dedication of merits. Akasata ca Bhumata Devanaga Mahitika Punyang tang anumoditva Chirang rakantu loka sasanang Etavata ca amhehi Sampadang punya sampadang Sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe sata anumodantu Sabba sampati siddhya. Dedication of marriage to departed. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yavani bhana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And we give 3 bows to the Buddha. First bow, second bow, and the third bow. Okay. Right, that's the end of the session. Any announcements from Terence?
No, Bante.
Yeah, so next week we still have the session, but it's not live stream. So every first week of the month would be just Zoom private Q&A for those who wants to maybe a bit more shy on to ask personal questions can do so. So that's for next week. So see you all again. Good night.
Thank you,
Good
Bante.
night.